finds himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, and
It's all about the entertainment, so I hope
everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, look at the Tyson. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry. Good evening and welcome to the return of the SRL TCR League Season 6 Round 5 live from Zandvoort GP Circuit. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be joined in the booth this evening not only by Zach, but James Dermott is joining us this evening as well. It's a pleasure to have James in the booth alongside us here for what plans to be an epic evening of racing. Don't forget, guys, we've got two 20-minute heats with a top 15 for Heat 2. Okay, so here are the current championship standings as they are as of this race. So we've got Gary Craig out in front on 332 points with Matt Elmore on 303. Jono Johnson 276. Stephen Fry on 260. Then we've got Alan McCain on 251. Dan Mould on 237 with John Brown on 232. Fraser Alexander on 226 with Arthur Ferdle on 213. And then John Cook on 210. And behind that we've got Cabernet Delaunay, Daniel Sedgley, Jay Corley, Craig Walters, Andrew Lovesey, Sam Smith and Steve Hailwood in the pros. In the AMs, it is Ryan Dudley out on front with 243 with Derek Crowther on 236. Fraser Garrity from Insignia Racing on 220. Jess Rakowski on 199. Russell Fowler on 191. Daniel Lewis on 148. Steve Woodcock on 145 with Kev Eilert on 142. Then we have Elliot James on 127. Chris Barnes on 125. Then we've got the Andrew Thompson, JB Deju, Ian Smith, Reese Wyatt, Paul Cogley, Neil Forbes, Callum Milam, James Ellis, and then below James we've got Tom Bingham, Hilton Nicholson, Luke Jones, and then Neil Ridley. So we are at Zandvoort GP Circuit. 5 previous configurations, guys, and currently one in use here this evening, and it is this one. It's basically going to be 4.259 kilometers, 2.646 miles, 14 turns, believe it or not, on this track. Now bear with us on the corner names, guys. We're probably not going to try some of the corner names partly because I'm not Dutch, Zach's not Dutch, and James isn't Dutch, so none of us can really pronounce what they actually are. Okay, so we're going to go 1 to 14. Okay, so being turn 1 is the tight right-hander at the top part of the race info screen. Track record is a 1:11.097 by Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes W12 in 2021 for the Formula 1 Grand Prix. Good evening, Phil. Good evening, Toxic Munchkin. Of course, Jamie Dangle and that Gamer K. I'm going to be mixing it in with the AMs tonight. Not enjoying this track. No, I am not a lover of Zandvoort either. I'm not going to lie. It's not my favourite circuit, and it's one that I don't really enjoy. But you've heard me waffle on long enough. Let's bring in Zach for a quick chat before we move it over to James. Good evening, young Zachary. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. Obviously, TCRs again, always a treat. I mean, a couple of weeks ago at Donington, we saw some fantastic racing action. It goes without saying. Here at Zandvoort, though, it is going to be a little bit different, tight, twisty, and obviously your mistakes are very much going to be punished. Have to say, it is unfortunate that iRacing are yet to update the track with the latest scan of the bankings and things, because I think it would make it a lot more interesting, but oh well, we've got bog standard Zandvoort, and I think we're good to go. Yeah,
I think we are here as well. Let's bring James Dermott in for a chat. Good evening, James. How are you, sir?
Evening, James. Not too bad, thank you very much. And I couldn't agree more with Zach there.
Hey.
To be honest, I think with the with the old scan they've got here, I think it's more punishing on track limits. There's less runoff, but we want to see those banking curves. We like to see that, especially at the last corner. But the TCR has always put on a good show, so I think we've got one to look forward to.
Yeah, we definitely have. It's going to be an interesting evening and very exciting. We have got 21 cars on here this evening as well. Don't forget, guys, after the final round in 2 weeks' time, we will be saying goodbye to the SRL TCRs. Basically, after a conversation with John and Dan Mould, JPB will be taking over the running of the TCRs. We're starting with on, I think it's the 4th of August, we're going to be looking at starting the season, and we're starting off with an all-British season. The format, everything's going to stay the same. The start time will stay the same as well. The only thing what will change, it will be run directly by JPB. So that's after the final round at Knock Hill. So obviously we wish to thank Dan and John for what as they have done with SRL. It's been absolutely incredible, but they want to take a break, so JPB are taking it over, and we will be running the TCRs on the 4th of August with an all-British series for 6 racetracks. We're possibly looking at 8 with different layouts, but it will be an all-British season, so I'm sure young Zach will want to join me for that one as well. So we'll probably be the same 2 people in the booth there as well. But after this 2 weeks, we will be moving over to JPB, and it will be the JPB TCR season here as well. I suppose technically it will be season 1, but that's going to be an exciting one for us to sit back and watch. Zach, what are we expecting from Zandvoort today? Because, as I say, it's not a track I enjoy. I don't know if that's the fact that I don't drive very often. I don't love this circuit, I've got to be honest. It's just not for me. But what are we expecting from Zandvoort with the TCRs here?
I think we should expect the unexpected. Obviously, as I say, it is tight, it is twisty, and mistakes will be punished. But I remember commentating a touring car race on Zandvoort, albeit on Racestream, quite different to iRacing, of course, in its own right, but the same dynamic of racing, really. And despite the twistiness, despite the fact that there's not a lot of room to make moves happen, you still do find quite a little bit of racing action, which is good. It's almost just a different type of, because you have to play mind games sort of thing. You have to think about your moves a little bit more strategically. You can't just rely on slipstream to blast your way past. You can't rely on heavy braking zones to send moves from half a second back. You really have to be quite particular with when, where, how you get moves done, whether it's setting up a cutback, forcing your driver into a mistake, whatever it is. You've got to be very, very clever as to how you get them done. So look out for more of a strategic drive from people, but also look out for good qualifying lap times, because while yes, moves can get done, it's better to just start in front and not have to do them in the first place.
This is also true here as well. James, where do we think the main action's going to be? Are we looking down that front stretch into turn 1, or do we think with these TCRs that, as we know, can door bang, go side by side, battle away, exchange paint, are we looking at anywhere on this track that it's possible that it can happen, or is turn 1 going to be the main opportunity?
TCRs make any track an overtaking opportunity, any corner an overtaking opportunity. I think you're absolutely right that Tarzan turn 1 is probably going to be the key spot, because it's the longest run. I think into the high speed second section, sort of turn 6, if you get a good run, if you get a good tow, and if you are brave enough, I reckon you could slide on up the inside there. But with these TCR cars being front wheel drive, getting on the power too early will put you off on the exit, because yeah, as Zach mentioned, there's no runoff here, there's no room for error, and those X's will accumulate quickly.
They definitely will, and I think these drivers are going to have to be careful here of the off tracks as well. I think it's going to be interesting. We're on board with Gary Craig, of course, leading the championship currently at the moment here as well. He's ahead by only 19 points here, Zach. Still got a job to do. We've still got 4 races left, including the 2 this evening, of course. Gary Craig's really got to go out and stamp it now, and he's got to go and put this on pole. He needs his cars up here as well. He's got to be looking at trying to take points in both races, and he's just going to have to be careful. If he takes that win in race 1, that top 15 reverse is going to be very interesting for him to come through the field here.
Yeah, indeed. So, I mean, also, let's not forget what Gary Craig's sort of ethos is in terms of the Touring Car Championship, contrary to sort of others, maybe, say, Arthur Thurtle or Dan Mould, who are very aggressive in the reverse grid race, carving their way through the field. Gary Craig is another driver that, you know, he waits for things to come to him. He sits, he's not too aggressive, he goes for those high chance, low risk moves, and it keeps him out of trouble. And that's why, even though with only 1 race win to his name, he is still leading the championship still by 19 points, which is a fairly comfortable margin. Obviously not entirely secure this late in the championship. You got to be millions of points ahead to even feel slightly secure when it comes to motorsport. But I think his general mentality of how to negotiate a race will really come to the limelight here in Zandvoort, because the name of the game here is to keep out of trouble. The name of the game here is to not make a massive mistake. The name of the game here is to not completely throw your car into other people. And I think that's really going to suit Gary Craig. He can, carve his way through, take his time, bide his time, sit back, wait for a spin. And I think he's going to be very successful. But his pace here is definitely nothing to shy away from. He puts on provisional pole.
Yeah, he does on a 147.916. The only man so far into the 147s with John Brown, John Cook, Cabernet Lawney, Russell Fowler. Jono Johnson's just gone into second on a 148.168 here. It seems to be 147, James, is the benchmark of what we're looking at time-wise, whether or not we're going to break into the 147.5s. That's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on as we go along here. But I think 147 probably going to get you into the top 5.
I reckon so. As they get a little bit more heat into those front tyres, the times will come down. The fuel load comes down, the weight comes off. I reckon there's a chance we could see a mid 47. I don't think we'll see much beyond that. I completely agree with Zach's point on Gary Craig. I mean, 100% top 10 record and lowest incidence in the series. That can't be slept on, and there is a reason why he's leading this championship. It's very impressive.
Yeah, he's just very, very careful overall. I think that's the thing with Gary Craig. He's not crazy on the reverses, and there are some people that are more aggressive, isn't there, Zach, than Gary Craig on that 15 reverse, that do end up causing themselves more problems than what they probably should do, to be fair, because, you can pick your way through. You have got 20 minutes and you've got a lap time of 147. They've got time to get through the verse, but it's that different mentality of, oh my God, I need to get up the front, to, oh my God, I could just sit back and chill. And I think that's where Gary Craig does an absolutely stellar job, isn't it? He sits back, he chills out, he picks his moments, and he's just cool, calm and collective. Now, one thing I do want to pick up, we've got no Arthur Fertile tonight as well. Arthur is currently, we believe he's playing tennis in a tennis match somewhere amazing, I'm sure, but he is off playing tennis, so there is no Arthur Fertile here this evening. Dan Mould is here as well. I do want to give a shout out to this man on your screen, John Brown, partly because of the fact that he messaged me early on saying I hate this circuit, and is currently sitting 5th overall. Russell Fowler in the AMS doing a great job here, Zach, as well. Miles ahead of Elliot James on a 148.65. Fowler's broken into the 147s.
He has, and he's only, in all fairness, just shy of 0.3 off overall provisional pole, which is mental in terms of pace. And Russell Fowler continuing to impress. Of course, Dan Mould tops that, goes up into 3rd place. That doesn't take anything away from the fact that Fowler's lap is sensational. However, James, I am looking at Jono Johnson, Gary Craig, and Dan Mould, because their lap time is all within the same 1/10 of a second. They're all on a 47.5. Around, a tight, a twisty, a technical circuit like Zandvoort, for 3 drivers to be within a 1/10 of a second is mind-bogglingly competitive.
Yeah, it definitely is here as well. We do have to do this wonderful thing here, Zach, that we do every single week. Who do you think is going to win race 1?
You know what? I'm going to go with Gary Craig. I think he is going to be able to come out on top. Obviously, it goes back to that 2 extreme mentalities that we're talking about. Obviously, we've got Dan Mould and Gary Craig. That's definitely one way to not end a qualifying session very well from Dan Mould, who does sit 3rd. But obviously, going back to what we were saying about different mentalities, we've got 2 extremes. We've got Gary Craig and we've got Dan Mould, 2nd and 3rd. Obviously, Johnson is a little bit of a middle ground, but Craig and Mould are the 2 ends of this spectrum. You've got Gary Craig, which is nice and conservative. Dan Mould likes to get moves done. Both of them have their pros and their cons. Obviously, the pros of an aggressive driver, they get the job done, they get moves done, they carve their way through forward. And for Dan Mould, that might be the difference between finishing 1st and finishing 3rd in this race. On the flip side of that, though, you also run a higher risk of coming into contact with things, which is one of the pros that Gary Craig is going to have with his mentality. He is going to be less likely to get into an incident, but also on his bad side of things, he's going to be less likely to do the dirty work. He's going to be more likely to lose a bit of time to those in front by not actively going for moves. So I think we are in for an interesting race, but of the two mentalities, I think the Conservatives one is going to reign supreme, and I think we are going to see Gary Craig take the top spot. Nothing against Jono Johnson. I just think Gary Craig in his race pace is too good.
Okay, James, I know it's your first one here, but we're going to put you on the spot here, bud. Who do you think is going to take the victory in race 1?
I like Jono Johnson. I think the Audis are so quick off the line, such short gearing in those cars, which really gives them the jump. And I think it could be a track position race. So I'm gonna stick with Jono Johnson.
See, that's who I was going with as well. Do you know what then? As you've taken Jono Johnson away from me, I am going to go with Dan Mould. I'm going to go and put it out there as well. Is Arthur at Wimbledon, says Phil. Phil, to be honest with you, we have no idea. It's possible that he's at Wimbledon. I don't think he's playing. If I'd known Arthur, he's probably sat there with champagne and strawberries as well, living the high life, on his multi-million pounds or whatever he's on. I don't know. He's not on multi-millions. I don't know what he's on a year, but whatever he's doing, I'm sure he's probably not trying to get himself in trouble with the Mrs. Zach, which, as we know, caused him a little bit of grief last time due to our, how can I put it? Our winding up of Mrs. Fertile, I think.
So good though.
It was funny, but we did get Arthur in trouble after that broadcast. Actually, Zach, he did DM me and say, just to let you know, my missus is glaring at me about now. He said, so thanks very much for that. I said, no worries, sir, there as well. Right, the grid is up. And here is the grid for race 1. It is Jono Johnson in first, Gary Craig in second, Stephen Fry in third with Dan Mould in fourth, Jonathan Cook fifth, John Brown sixth, Russell Fowler in seventh, leading the AMs there, stellar job from him, Matt Almore in eighth, Jay Corley in ninth, Fraser Garrity 10th, Elliot James 11th, and Cabernet Delaunay down in 12th place. Then we've got Ryan Dudley, Steve Howard, Deck Crowther, Ian Smith, Dan Lewis, Kev Eilert, Chris Barnes, Alan McCain, and Callum Milam. I can guarantee Alan McCain is not going to be happy about the fact of where he is currently at the moment here as well. He's not going to be chuffed about that because he does not like being that far down. He's going to have to start making his way through the field, and one that I think we could be very interested to keeping an eye on here as well. He was there Monday. Dan for pros and Dudley for AMs, says Jamie Dengle. Right, I've got to write your name down, Jamie. Who have you got? Mould and Dudley. Okay. Well, we didn't do AMs. We just said he was going to take the overall here, so maybe that's on us. But there we go. Right, we are going to be underway very, very shortly. We're just waiting for the last few cars to get on the grid. Gary Craig, Alan McCain and Callum Milam. Of course, our very own Callum. The dog, I'm just going to call it that. Go, Jay, go. So Jay Corley there up for a shout. But here goes the lights, guys. We are going to be up and running very, very shortly. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we are going to be green here at Zandvoort. And it is Jono Johnson out in front, Gary Craig in second, Stephen Fry third, Dan Mould fifth, fourth. John Brown is currently sitting in sixth place there with Matt Elmore trying to make a move over Russell Fowler currently at the moment here as well. Everybody got away cleanly, no dramas so far. 3 wide at the back, that's Dan Lewis on the outside from the Oven Blossom Racing team with Alan McCain and Kev Eilert, and unfortunately for Dan Lewis, he goes down the field. But Jono Johnson's got an absolutely stellar start there, Zach, and is doing an absolutely flying job here once more and getting out in front early. That's what he needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does always help to keep the track position, and the easiest place to lose that is off the line into turn number 1. Fortunately for Johnson, he's able to keep it, which is definitely his best foot forwards going forward, because now he's not on the back foot. He can definitely now just not necessarily cruise, but he's got an easier time of defending than he does attacking. It's so much easier to hold track position than it is to go and get it here at Zandvoort. So Gary Craig, Stephen Fry and Dan Mould have got a hell of a job ahead of him as side by side here. This is Jonathan Cook trying to get himself around the outside of Matt Elmore. They go side by side on the run now in towards turn 11, and look at that midfield fight. No one is separated by more than half a second.
Yeah, definitely not. Steve Howard even down here in third team. It's got Dudley, Delaunay, Corley, Fowler, Garrity in front currently at the moment. moment as well. Elliot James is your biggest loser in that run currently at the moment. Elliot James down 3 positions with Dan Lewis there as well. And you see all the gainers, the front 4 have not swapped places whatsoever. John Brown is up 1. He got a jump over Jonathan Cook here as well. But this midfield battle and this front battle is absolutely flying here, James, as well. On board with Gary Craig now, and that is how close we are to Jono Johnson.
Yeah, he's run wide on the exit though. I think that might ruin his run coming into Tarzan. I wonder whether we're going to see Johnson fade across to the right. Does he feel the need? No, he doesn't feel the need. I think that Audi off the start with those short gears is what's really saved Johnson here, and but I do feel like Craig might have a little bit more race pace at this stage.
Yeah, Dan Mould also looking to get past Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry went out onto the gravel on the exit of turn 1 as well. That's allowed Dan Mould to close right in currently at the moment. Jono Johnson's made a mistake. Jono Johnson has made a mistake and he's dropped down the order. He's now going down in 6th place here. What happened to Jono Johnson here as well? Did he just unfortunately bin it on the racetrack and has caused himself no end of dramas? Oh, is he going to be? Craig's up the inside. Jono Johnson and Gary Craig make contact. And unfortunately for Jono Johnson, he's come off worse there, Zach. And that isn't good for Jono Johnson at all.
It isn't. That goes without saying. He's now down 5 places into 6th. I don't really know where to appoint the blame there. It was a bit of a send from Craig, it must be said. Could more space have been given? I'm not entirely sure. I think we'd need to, slow it down, take other looks at it, see the angles and stuff. But yeah, maybe a racing incident. However, Gary Craig completely disregarding what I was commenting on because that was a very aggressive move to find himself up into the race lead. Half a second now is the gap between Craig and Fry for the race lead. Dan Mould and John Brown in the mix as well. They've got a bit of a breakaway from Jonathan Cook, however, 1.5 seconds clear, which is a nice healthy gap to have. It will very quickly come down if they start to battle.
Yeah, definitely will there as well, James. That was an incident that Gary Craig really wanted to avoid, wasn't it? He didn't want to be himself involved in that one, and unfortunately it looked like from Jono Johnson's point of view, Gary Craig sent it on him, and that was what the result was there of them guys fighting it out.
Yeah, Johnson's going to be driving angry now, and as we all know, it's reverse grid race next, so if it finishes as it is, obviously a long way to go, that means Craig might well come along Johnson in the second race, which would be interesting, because I think Craig, looking back at that, might not have kept his apex, so I might apportion a little bit more blame to him there.
Ooh, Ryan Dudley in
He's
the
straight
wall.
in.
Oh, Dudley's done.
Yeah.
There is no words for that one at all. He went off track, he came back in, hit the barrier, and for Ryan Dudley there, it's all got to be over and done with. Was there slight contact though? Was there contact? I can't really see if there was. It doesn't look like there was contact with Dudley there. Maybe the chopper might be able to give me a better idea, but no, not really.
Yeah.
It's a tough one there,
It's
Zach.
enough. It's enough of contact, I think, to send Dudley round. You have to remember that the rear end in these touring cars are quite sensitive, not necessarily under traction, but just in general. Obviously, because all of the weight essentially is in the front of the car, the engine, the gearbox, the drivetrain, everything is at the front of the car. And through that corner, obviously, it is quite high speed. It's not going to take much of contact, particularly the angle they were at, to send Dudley spearing off. Obviously, more space could have been given. Dudley could have slowed down, not ran as wide. But yeah, I think there was ever so slightly a bit of contact because I couldn't really see Dudley spinning without contact. Obviously, I've been wrong before. I'm happy to be wrong again, but it did look like the ever so slight bit of contact there was enough to see Dudley into the barrier, which is a shame, obviously, for him. As he has looked very, very strong in that Anfield. And well, now he'll be down in P21, won't finish this race, won't get any points for this race, and also won't benefit off the reverse grid either. So Zandvoort already is shown to be a bit of a write-off from Ryan Dudley.
Yeah, it definitely is, but Stephen Fry is still under attack here from Dan Mould. Mould's been riding him for the last 4 laps. He just cannot seem to get through here at the moment. He's going now around what is turn 3. I would try and pronounce the name. It's Hugen Holzbock, apparently. So there you go. Excuse my best Dutch pronunciation. Completely irrelevant here as well. So it was turn 3 as these guys will go wiggling off here, James. Dan Mould's got to try and do something, but what can he do being stuck behind Stephen Fry that close? He's just made a mistake. He's just ran wide into turn 7 there as well. Didn't quite make it through, and he's now got John Brown attacking him. Can Dan Mould force his way through? Has he got to wait for a mistake? Has he got to try and set Stephen Fry up? What's Dan got to do here, James?
Well, it's the joy of touring cars. As you say, one slight mistake, he's dropped off the back of Fry and straight into the clutches of Brown, and now he's got to be doing attacking and defending at the same time, which always livens it up. I mean, if he's got... You need quite a big pace delta to get past here, especially without the banking in turn 14 with this scanning of the track. So I think it might be a mistake up ahead, and then maybe a little bit of an aggressive barge through as well.
Ooh, he's going to get his elbows out then. Is that what we're saying, James?
Sometimes in TCR, that's a requisite for making a pass, especially on a tricky track like Zandvoort.
It is actually, because I was watching a race the other day, back along for the BTCC at Donny, and there was 2 people battling it out, and the guy on the inside just pushed the guy off on the left side. What's interesting about that is the commentator turned around and went, well, clearly he's had enough of him pushing him off the track. So, yeah, that's about as interesting as it gets here, Zach. But back down here in the field, Fraser Garrity still having a nice little battle with Russell Fowler and Jay Corley there. Corley down in 8th in the pros, 10th overall, but these 3 having a nice little tidy battle.
They are. Obviously, it's great to see, and it's a bit of a Garrity Express at this point. He's leading the train of a couple of cars behind him. Obviously, this is for the AM lead, so Russell Fowler, showing that pace that he did over the course of qualifying, is going to want to try and use that, but Fraser Garrity has shown the sheer amount of pace that he has. And the racecraft, more importantly. Pace is one thing at a circuit like this, but racecraft is always going to reign supreme as they run their way up over the crest now, dipping their way downhill through this very, very fast right-hander. Must be hell on the front tyres in touring cars, and must be understeer city. That's why I don't like driving touring cars, in all fairness. Fun to watch, hate to drive them though. But Garrity's doing a pretty good job of keeping the train of Fowler and Corley at bay.
Yeah, he definitely is currently at the moment here as well, and this is down first place in the AMS, Garrity, with Fowler in the second. Fowler is down 2 places. Don't forget he qualified above some of the pros and did an absolutely stellar job in quali, and he's now doing an absolutely stellar job in the race. He has been jumped by Garrity. Garrity is up 2 places at the moment. The recovering Jono Johnson, he's chasing down Jonathan Cook here currently at the moment as well. They've gone round turn 12 on their way down into 13th. Johnson's not going to be happy, but I think he's going to suck it up and just move on. We've got 11 minutes to go. Dan Mould still here, James. He's still stuck behind him, and he still can't get past Stephen Fry.
This is close enough, though. I think we might see a move into here. Are we going to see Fry defend into Tarzan? We don't. It's going to have to be late on the brakes. No. And he's not quite done it. I thought that could have been it. That could have been it. But I think he's got the requisite pace to get past here, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he has, and I'm surprised he hasn't already. He's pulling out lap times. Well, saying that, he has only been quicker in lap 3 and lap 5. Lap 1, 2 and 4, Fry was faster. So from Mould's point of view, he's got to kind of tidy up that. We can have a look at the sectors and really see where he's losing the time currently at the moment. And, you can see to sector 1, Fry's quicker here, Zach, as well. So clearly there's some stuff there that he's got to be able to do in that sectors. We can have a look. Fry is quicker in sector 2 as well. So Fry seems to be able to have the pace at certain places, but I'm hoping that Mould might have the run out of 3 and 4, and that could be why he's closing up. And again, he's not even fast enough in sector 3. So he's clearly not sitting comfortably in this lap, and Stephen Fry is still kind of outdoing him around the race circuit at the moment.
Yeah, but you have to think about it. They're very small sectors. There's not a lot of time in them, and there still isn't a lot of time between these two. Fry and Mould are, separated by virtually nothing at this point, and all it takes is a bit of a send from Mould into turn number 1, or maybe into turn 12. There's the move from the reigning champion, side by side through the chicane. Outside line once again from Dan Mould. It was a good effort, but no cigar.
Yeah, he didn't get through that time. I'm wondering, though, obviously we talk about the scanning, we talk about the banking, we talk about everything else. If we were looking at the circuit as it is today, do we think Dan Mould could have made his way round that outside, James, or do we think he still would have been in the same position?
No, I completely agree. You can carry much more speed with the added banking they put into that chicane, and I think it certainly would have opened up the opportunity to make it into turn 12, because he'd have had the inside line.
Yeah, I think so as well. John Cook, Fraser Garrity, Russell Fowler and Corley still battling it out. Cabernet Delaunay, Crowther and McCain. Crowther's up 3 places, McCain's up 7. I did say before here, Zach, that he was not going to be happy about where he qualified, and clearly gaining 7 places, he's clearly showing he wasn't happy.
He wasn't, and obviously he's on a mission, it must be said. I think so far, other than Arthur Thurtle, Alan McCain is the only other driver to win more than once this season. So up until Donington, he was the only double winner of the championship, and now he's trying to at least make the most of race 1, and then equally make the most of race 2, because his pace is pretty good. Not quite as quick as the leaders of Gary Craig and things, but with track position being as important as it is, of course, him having the track position out in front after the reverse grid race will really, really help him to stay in front of the likes of maybe Gary Craig, Stephen Fry, and Dan Mould. So I think definitely Alan McCain is looking for a good result this evening, despite the poor qualifying. And yeah, well, he's not letting it slow. He's not letting it slow him down at all, because now he's already looking for his 8th victim of Derek Crowther. Yeah,
he's trying to go looking around the outside of turn 11 here. I think that's a little bit more risky. One of the things I want to pick up on really quickly here is with that top 15 reverse. Currently, Ian Smith, who is 5th in the AMS, 15th overall, will be on pole position. James, what do we think he's going to be going through here as well? Because he's taken pole. He's clearly, you can see on track, and this isn't any disrespect to Ian, he's not as quick as the top guys. What is he going to have to do in that reverse grid to be able to basically try and either stay out in front or stay out in trouble here as well? One thing I do want to pick on, Toxic Munchkin, no Dan Sedgley. No, there is no Sedgley here tonight. What's Ian Smith going to be feeling if he sat on the front for race 2 and he's on pole position?
It's a great question. I think at the moment his best time is about 1.5 seconds off the front runners, so that is a big delta. But any lap you can lead is a confidence build. Any corner that you nail is a confidence build. So there's no reason that any of these guys, if it's a tight, twisty track, it's almost Monaco without the barriers. So if he puts the car in the right position.
Dan Mould's been off. Sorry to interrupt. Dan Mould and Stephen Fry went off together. There was contact there with Dan Mould. Oh no. Where are we going to pin that one though? Did Dan Mould come over on him?
Yep.
He did, didn't he?
There's no two ways about that. Dan Mould has drifted over to the left and made contact. I love Dan Mould. He's a great guy, but that was silly. Easily done, obviously. Naturally, I'm not saying it was out of malice or anything like that. It is very easily done. But what it has meant is that Jono Johnson, despite losing pole position and despite tumbling down the order early on, has now found himself back into podium contention and even contention for 2nd place. But yeah, Dan Mould, again, it's close. And in fights like that, naturally things are going to go wrong. But drifting over to the left like that, it was a clumsy mistake to make, and it's one that's ended his race.
Yeah, and as you say, James, it was brewing, right? They were nose to tail for 8 laps. Definitely something was going to happen, wasn't it? If they couldn't get a clean overtake.
Absolutely, and these cars pivot around the front axle, so once you get a rear quarter panel hit like that, it's just going to turn it around. And there's a look around the outside. It's Tarzan, almost a bumper thrown at the rear bumper there, but he's got a good exit.
Jono Johnson's got a flyer coming out of turn 2. He's trying to get round at 3. He's not going to make it round, I don't think, this time as well. They've also got John Brown tucked up right behind you. Crowther and McCain have swapped places, but that is how close. Jesus, I was not expecting to see that as we jumped on board with Derek Crowther. How close he actually was there, Zach. I think that was just a bit of a shock for all of us.
Usually have to pay for shots of Alan McCain's rear end like that, but we've got it. A premium class here on the JPBroadcasting Broadcasting channel. Ladies and gentlemen, only the best for you guys. And, well, Alan McCain, sorry about that, mate. We need to sort of get some pictures or something on that one. But, yeah, he's carrying on, and thankfully he's not had his rear end smacked into from Derek Crowther.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Alan McCain's OnlyFans. Who knows? Well, see what happens. But never mind. I'm not saying go there, guys. Bear with me. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on swiftly after my little incident. Cabernet Delaunay has got Alan McCain tucked up right behind him, as we've just seen the back end of McCain's car on board with Crowther. Jono Johnson still going at it with John Cook and John Brown, and there's far too many Johns in the front 3 for my liking there, James.
3 Johns in a row. Who's going to win the Inter-John battle? That'll be an interesting one. I think Johnson does have the pace on Cook at this stage of the race. I think he needs to nail the exit out of 14, and he'll have a good run into Tarzan.
He's going to try and get through here and see how he gets on. But I think at the end of the day, I think Jono Johnson's got to get a run and a half over Cook. If he can get that run on Cook, he might be able to make it. The gap's coming down. We're down on 2 tenths already. Is he going to get it below? He's not down into turn 1. That's what I mean, Zach. It's so difficult. Even though you get a great exit out of 14, it's so tough with the equal speed of these cars. It's tough to get it past down into turn 1, isn't it? We thought it might have been the main place, but I'm struggling to see here as well that we haven't actually, thinking about it, seen many overtakes down into turn 1.
We haven't. And obviously going back to what we say about the renovations to Zandvoort, the banking at the final corner allows you to stay that much closer because you're not relying on the car itself to do the turning. The banking does it for you, which means there's less skill involved, there's less dirty air involved, there's less likelihood of you running into the back of someone, which means that you can carry more speed through and still have a good run onto the straight. And it's not a long straight either. As far as pit straights go, it's relatively short. So you don't actually have that long to pull alongside. Any move you make into turn 1, usually, bar any anomalies, is that's an up and under for one. Forget turn 1, go for it in turn 11 from Jono Johnson. Opens the door up to the inside though for Brown, who settles into single file. But yeah, it's not the longest pit straight in the world, so you really have to do it on the brakes, which at a circuit like Zandvoort is a very risky manoeuvre no matter where you do it.
Definitely have not got a lot of time here at all now. They're in 2 minutes. This is going to be the final lap of the race for Gary Craig, I believe. I don't think he's going to get across the line. Maybe he might just get across the line a little bit with inside of that. We'll have to jump on board with Gary Craig and see it here as well. This is going to be very, very close on this 147. I'm not going to lie, he isn't going to make it. There you go, Barney is waving. So we are on the final lap. Jono Johnson's got a run. He's being squeezed against the wall. Oh, the wall! Oh, John Cook put on a defence and a half there, James, and they make contact. Oh!
He throws a door handle on the way past to show his displeasure at being pushed into the wall, and he might lose another one here as Brown comes up the inside. This is going to be brave. We've seen contact through here. Brown thinks better of it, probably wise.
Yeah, he definitely went for it there as well. He squeezed him like an orange juice against like an orange against that wall there, Zach. I thought he was going to put Jono Johnson in the wall.
Very was close to doing so. Thankfully they haven't, which is always good because that's not always great. But obviously you can see that Cook has had his own fair share of battle scars in this race. That front right wheel arch does not look very good, to say the least. But he's carrying on. No pace has been damaged and is still on the podium in all fairness. Which second, third, not directly in a fight necessarily for the championship. So second or third is always a good start. For the podium. It doesn't really matter which way around it goes, but always good to get the extra points, I suppose. Podiums. But yeah, at the end of the day, podium's a podium, whichever way around it is. But Johnson, as it stands, now ahead up in the second place. But what can Cook do in terms of a counterattack? Whether or not he's interested for second, is that Craig?
Craig's got to slow down. Jono Johnson's retaking the lead. Craig's got round. Oh, he's going to make it. Is he going to come back on? John Brown's going to try and slip out the inside. Oh, he does make it through. John Brown's now going to try and run on the outside of the final 2 corners here of Gary Craig. Craig's being pushed along from Cook. This is going to go down to the wire. This is literally going to go down to the wire. Jono Johnson, I do love you and you're out in front, but this is going to be exciting. There we go. Jono Johnson crosses the line. Great job. Who's going to get it? Gary Craig, I think, is going to get it. Craig does get it. There was an incident with John Cook and Matt Elmore. Both of them in the wall. Cook's finished off. Well, I don't know what he's finished off doing, but he hasn't gone round the right way, I'll tell you that much. What's happened to here at the end? John Cook looks loose there already going across the line. That looked very bizarre. I'm not going to lie on that one. That looked very, very bizarre. Fraser Garrity does come out in front here as well at the end on 6th place. But boy, oh boy, James, that was a finish and a half.
Absolute pressure cooker of a race there. All the action happened in the last 200 metres. That was an unbelievable finish with 4 almost all across the line at the same time. I'm not sure what happened with the fourth and fifth place cars there. I think Cook might have just been focused on the cars ahead and not necessarily realising that there's a car alongside him all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess on that one. It did look a little bit bizarre from them guys. We are just waiting for the final few straddlers here with Elliot James, who's going to be looking at going over the line as well. And Ryan Dudley is another man who is just up in front of him currently there as well. What a wild end, says VJ. Yes, what a wild end it was. Gary Craig with a slowdown. Do you know the very bizarre thing about that, Zach? He must have got that slowdown out of 11. Right, because, or even coming out of turn 10, because where would you generally get a slowdown coming out of there?
You don't, basically. And the thing with Zandvoort is the runoff does the slowing down for you, so much that you don't really need to do it, unless obviously you cut straight across the 12-13 chicane. But I find it baffling that he's managed to get a slowdown, because that never happened. But he managed it, and unfortunately he's had to pay the consequences of losing a race victory. Fortunately for him, it's still points gained to the championship, but it's not a race win.
No, it definitely isn't. Right, here are the results of race 1. Jono Johnson is in, I don't know how he's there, but he's in first place after having an incident and then going back to 7th and then battling his way back through again. So it just clearly shows that Jono is rocking some pace here this evening as well. Gary Craig in 2nd. Slowdown, we think, at the end caused him problems on that run to the line. John Brown just behind him. John Cook and Matt Elmore. What a finish between them two. Not entirely sure what happened with Cook, but he did slam into the side of Elmore and managed to come over the line. Fraser Garrett, takes the AM victory ahead of Russell Fowler. Jay Corley in 8th, Alan McCain 9th, Cabernet Delaunay in 10th, Derek Crowther down in 11th. Rounds out the AM's podium. Kev Eilert 12th, Ian Smith 13th, Dan Lewis 14th, Chris Barnes 15th, Stephen Fry 16th, and Steve Halewood is in 17th place. Then beyond that, we've got Ryan Dudley, Elliot James and Callum Milam have all unfortunately been a lap down there as well. We saw what happened to Dudley. He went into a barrier. We're not entirely sure if there was contact with Cabernet Delaunay's car or if there wasn't, but we are on a brief little warm-up here now as well. And well, I think race 2 could be very, very exciting, young Zach, with Jono Johnson coming through the field.
I would be inclined to agree. I think he's going to be on a flyer. His pace and his overtaking was second to none, and he was very, very quick indeed. But my main site for intrigue would be for Alan McCain. Obviously, his pace was fairly staggering. He was very, very quick. And he's starting in, well, it'll be what, 6th place going into, or not even, 5th place for 7th, one of the two. And I think actually his track position is going to be better off for him than Johnson, Craig and Brown. I think he's actually going to be in for a pretty good race.
I think McCain's a good shout. I think Johnson will have a lot to do, but there are a lot of scores to settle after, especially after that last lap throughout the field. So I wouldn't bet away from a Jono Johnson surprise result if there are a number of incidents ahead. But I think I've got to go for Alan McCain.
Well, honestly, I think considering James is just coming in here and, you know, we can go weeks at a time without predicting the winner, and he's coming in on his first day and done it. So I think it's going to be Alan McCain. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to go for McCain because I'm not boring. I was gonna, and then he was like, "No, I'm going to go and do it." But you know what? I'm gonna. It is, yeah. I'm going to go with. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think Jay Corley's quite quick. And did actually end up finishing like 6 seconds ahead of Alan McCain, so we might be able to get in front. Yeah, do you know what? I'll just go with Jay Corley. Why not? The furthest in front of all of us, right? That's fine. Right.
I really like to see that because at the time I did call it slightly more on him. So I guess he had quite a number of laps to to think about it. And I don't know whether the stewards got involved there or whether that was out the goodness of his racing heart. But I think that was the correct thing to have done.
Love a bit of sportsmanship here in the SRL, so well done. Can't hear JP if he's... I wasn't talking then, to be honest, so that's probably why he couldn't hear me, to be honest, because I wasn't talking. So there you go. That answers that question. You probably should be able to hear me now, though, because I am talking. But there we go. Right, the grid is up for race 2, and it is Chris Barnes on pole. Dan Lewis in second, Ian Smith third, Kev Eilert fourth, Derek Crowther in fifth, Cabernet Launay in sixth, Alan McCain seventh, Jay Corley eighth, Russell Fowler ninth, Fraser Garrity in 10th, Matt Elmore 11th, and John Cook down in 12th place there as well. Why are you doing... What are you doing? Please behave. And then we've got John Brown, Gary Craig, John O'Johnson, Stephen Fry, Steve Howard, Ryan Dudley, Elliot James, Callum Milam, and Dan Mould at the back end of the field there. Well, that's going to be interesting to see, I think, there, Zach. Don't you think, with Dan Mould at the back?
Yeah, he's going to be on a charge, let's put it that way. But I have to say, he's really struggled this season, considering the dominance that he showed last season. But we'll find out in 20 minutes' time.
There we go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we are green, green, green for race 2 here as well. And it is currently Chris Barnes with Dan Lewis running side by side down into turn 1 now. You can see at the back, Cabernet Launay's up 3 places currently off the start. Cabernet making an absolute stellar jump with Kev Eilert and Ian Smith as well. Derek Crowther sitting in 5th place. Currently spinning. We're spinning. And are we in the middle of the track? We're not there for Derek Crowther. He's come stationary against the barrier. Jay Corley will have a look back at that one, what happened to Derek Crowther in a minute. But it is Chris Barnes, Dan Lewis, Kevin Lawn and Kev Eilert. There's been an incident involving Stephen Fry and a few others towards the back end of the field here as well. Elliot James, Stephen Fry, Callum Milam. Looks like they've all had contact. There's Jonathan Cooks off all at the same time. He's flying off as well there, as somebody else has also gone off. And that's Chris Barnes, I believe, is still out in front with Dan Lewis, but that was a bit of a manic start there, James.
Absolutely unbelievable start. Delaunay using that Audi start to his advantage, getting 3 off the line, as you said before. Tarzan still all to play for P2 as they fight Delaunay Lewis. Delaunay leading the pros, and he's held on to P3 for the moment, but we need to dissect what has happened there, because there is a hell of a lot that happened in Sector 1.
Yeah, there definitely is, and to be honest, I wouldn't even know where to point the camera to look at, but I think one of the things we have got to look at is what happened to Derek Crowther. I've got a funny feeling there was definitely contact. There was. Oh. The question is, who was their contact with there as well, Zach? I think that was an interesting one to have a look at here on the outside.
Ouch.
Ouch. And who was that? Was that I'm trying to find a number. Was that Ian Smith? It was Ian Smith. And then all of this happened here as well, and it all got a little bit messy. It all got a little bit crazy, and then all of a sudden Callum Milam got himself involved in a big incident with everybody else, with Elliot James here as well. And Crowther just missed him. There was somebody else off track at the same time, and then Elliot James got caught up in that was a little bit scrappy. I'm not going to lie there, Zach, wasn't it? It looked a little bit untidy.
A little bit, and that goes without saying. Obviously, it doesn't. Yeah, it did all the talking for itself. It was quite a messy start, but it's a reverse grid race at Zandvoort. Things are naturally going to be messy. That's a lovely switch back from Kev Eilert nearly versus Daniel Lewis. He nearly found his way past. There's the send in the background. That might be Matt Elmore, I think, going for the move, or at least trying to. Backing out of it in the end, though. In the end of things, and almost went for the move as we are well underway with lap number 2. Good old close little battle there between Chris Barnes and Cameron Delaunay. Only 0.3 of a second between those two for the fight for the lead. And this battle is getting very close as well for the podium. You can see Daniel Lewis versus Kev Ayler also incredibly close. And there's just action up and down. And that's exactly what we expect from a reverse grid race.
Yeah, I'd like to point out as well, unfortunately for my pick, he's now sitting in the pits and he's out.
Just watch, yeah.
Yeah, just watch. Well, I was expecting Ian Smith to go into him, did I? Or whatever way. Do you know, that was very reminiscent of the Stephen Fry down mould incident, wasn't it? Going into that, it looked almost, James, to be identical. And I think they were running into the same corner as well. It looked like Crowther had that same thing where he was on the outside, he was on the inside, sorry, and Smith was on the outside as Delaunay's now looking at the inside of Barnes. Barnes gives him more room than probably really needed to there, and Cabernet Delaunay out in front. But that was very reminiscent of Mould and Fry in turn in the first race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a sort of, it's a slight kink. It's not a straight line between 1 and 2, and I think that just creates a pinch point where 2 into 1 doesn't go, especially if the driver on the outside isn't perhaps using the full width of the road. It was slightly earlier on, and I think slightly more clumsy in this race than it was in race 1. But yeah, I think it's sort of the nature of the track. It's tight, and there's very, very few straights.
Yeah, definitely. Jono Johnson is not doing so well. He is only up 1 place, but he has looked like he has been off the circuit. Jake Corley's now battling away with Matt Elmore. Elmore's just about to go up the inside. So is Gary Craig on Corley. So Corley there loses. Dan Lewis spins the car. Oh! Was that Mould? It was! Lewis and Mould. Lewis spins the car, Dan Mould's in the pits, and Alan McCain is fighting away here with Ryan Dudley behind. Unfortunately, there's Zach all over for Mould.
It is, yeah, and well, it's been a season to forget, I think, for the reigning champion. We'll take another look as to how things happened. Of course, there he is in the black and green. He's working his way through. Carnage in front of him, and he's licking his lips to this, saying, "Thank you very much. This is what I can benefit on." And then, oh no, there's a car there. Boom, bang, stopped, race over, and you can already see immediately his steering geometry was
Broken.
not brand new.
No.
Yeah, very broken. Yeah, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't there as well. Yeah, the thing is, right, was that either... You can't really say it's Dan Mould's fault, right? I think the natural perception of Dan Lewis's car should be, as Dan Lewis is going to the right-hand side, he should carry on going to the right-hand side. But he held what we all discuss as holding your brakes, and he held his brakes and the car stopped, which I think for Dan Mould's perception there was just a complete and utter unexpectedness, because normally the car just carries on rolling with smoke coming out the back where he has locked the brakes. But unfortunately for Mould, he did lock it, and they actually locked and stopped the car. So Mould's gone round and careered straight into the side of him there, James, with nowhere to go.
Yeah, those are the incidents that make you feel very silly as a driver, but absolutely nothing Mould could do there. He was on full lock, and anyone who's not driven these cars, it might look sort of foolish that he just kept a certain amount of lock on rather than try to any more avoiding, but that's where you get maximum avoidance. If you put any more lock on, he would have just understeered even more. So Mould couldn't have done anything more there. He was up 12 as well up into that incident, so he had an unbelievable race going, and that's a really rough way to end it.
Yeah, definitely is. Jono Johnson and Ryan Dudley battling it out. Johnson's up 4 places, Dudley's up 8, both in the Audi here. This is going to be a nice fair battle, I think, here, Zach, because we know Dudley's got pace. You know, he has moments of brilliance, and I've seen him in other series where he leads, and he's been exceptional in other races and that as well. But he had a rough race 1. He hit the barrier probably about 200 yards back from where we've just been. But he's now got Jono Johnson behind him. It's a different perception. Does Dudley look at this and think, well, this isn't really my battle. I'm an am, he's a pro, I should let him go? Or is Dudley going to fight it out? Because Dudders ain't going to give up easily, I don't think.
Yeah, well, the thing is that it is one long scoring sheet, at least to the best of my knowledge. It's not separate for the pros and the abs.
No, as far as we're aware, it's straight through.
Yeah, so it's just one long one. So in that respect, I can obviously understand why Dudley would want to keep Johnson at bay, because it is more points at the end of the day. If he finishes in front, he gets more points overall. Not the points for 4th, but the points for 10th. as it would be in the overall standing. So he's going to want to keep it in that regard. But is it worth keeping Johnson at bay, especially because we're not even halfway through the race yet? Is it going to be a matter of if? Is it a matter of when Johnson comes through? Dudley obviously is smart. He knows not to be stupid. But naturally, he is going to want to keep that place. But maybe if he lets Johnson through, he can use him as a bit of a battering ram to get more places and use it as a bit of an investment. Take one step back to take 2 steps forward, as Matt Elmore has taken all the steps forward to the inside of Kev Aylett.
Yeah, he tried to go at the inside with Gary Craig tucked up right behind him as well. Aylett on the third place here as well, and he is holding on. He's like a rock climber who's lost his rope here. I think he's gripping to this position with dear life. Elmore is now fighting it out with Gary Craig as well, and these guys battling away as they're coming down into 11. I would not recommend taking this too wide, and I would not recommend going around turn 12 too wide either here, James. Aylett looks like he's hanging on, but he's also just managed to pull out a little bit of a gap. I'm not talking masses, I'm talking like 3/10, but he's managed to open up what I think will probably save him down into turn 1.
Yeah, I think he'll be safe into turn 1, but I think the pace deficit will catch up with him. With Craig might well have a look down the inside of Elmore here into Tarzan. And he's not defended. Yeah, this should be a move on the brakes. Easily done. Does he get it stopped? Does he lock the rears? No. Perfect. Parks it on the apex. No nudging. All lovely clean move. Are we going to get a replay of an incident into turn 2? No, we're all clean this time around.
Yeah, all done and dusted. Ryan Dudley just done the fastest lap of the race there on a 1:47.7. So clearly he is keeping Jono Johnson at bay and is doing a stellar job about it here as well. Steve Howard is now trying to have a go at Matt Elmore, and Steve there trying to battle away as they come round through turn 6, going to be dropping up over that hill and coming down through 7 here, and once more Howard backs away, or loses time should we say, to Elmore up front. But Gary Craig here, Zach, he's up 10 places.
Wow.
Can he get the win with 9 minutes remaining?
He's still got half the race left to do it. He's in half the race. He's gone from 14th to 4th, so I don't see why not. He can do it. I mean, it's not a million miles away either. Only about 3.5 seconds. 2 of them between them are AMs. Obviously not to take anything away from the AMs, but the championship leader and the pros surely should make quick work of Chris Barnes and Kev Aylett. And as it stands, I think he is just biding his time. That's the thing about Gary Craig, is he knows how to best use his time. 20 minutes isn't a long time, but you still have to think long term in terms of the race. And already he's sort of sparking an attack around the outside of Kev Aylett up to 3rd. Now the only person between sort of him and the chase for the lead is Chris Barnes. 2 seconds to that, then close down the second to Delaunay. I still have faith that Gary Craig can do this, and do you know how he's done it? He's been calm, he's been collected, and he's waited for the opportunities to come to him. Now Matt Elmore wants to slice the pie. He's going to go into the inside of turn 1.
Yeah, that's one of the very, very rare overtakes we've actually seen in one. We've seen this happen out of 2, though. We've seen it happen on this run to 2. They do keep it clean, and Matt Elmore has gone through and is now chasing down Gary Craig. It's all battles here, as you can see, from 4th to 5th to 6th to 7th with Corley. Then we've got Gary battling away with McCain and Dudley. Dudley, the fastest man, was the fastest man on track currently at the moment, and I believe he still currently is on the 1:47.72 here. So he is absolutely flying along, doing the job in the AMS, 4th in the AMS, and he is currently sitting 10th overall. So Ryan Dudley having an absolutely stellar job, but he is once more, he's dropped Jono Johnson there, James. I think that was a surprise for all of us because we were expecting Jono Johnson to get past him.
Absolutely. Dudley's times are absolutely phenomenal. He's a full second faster than the leading cars, and he's closed into McCain in the blink of an eye. He has a quick look. He's at half a second on the last lap quicker. Dudley has real, genuine race-winning pace here. He's probably going to be too far back for that, but a real result is very much on the cards for the AM driver.
Dudley here can look at trying to make up a couple of positions as the camera just gets run over there. I don't want to be that cameraman, but it looks like Kev Aylett's on an issue. Aylett's off. Aylett, whichever way you want to put it. Oh, that's with Steve Howard on the outside as well. Was there contact? I've got a funny feeling there is. Oh, Corley sent him round. Ouch. Jay Corley.
Yeah, not smiles there, and thankfully it is the virtual world, and probably hundreds of miles separate them. Otherwise, the paddock would get very, very saucy very, very quickly.
Could you imagine if they were next door to each other?
No, they should jump on, VR boxing straight after the race. That's how you settle your
they could do the Wii boxing, Zach.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that? Right, drivers, we're not going to have any fights. You're going to jump onto a Wii that we could even get the server up and running and host us. Oh my God, so many ideas here, Zach. This would be amazing, wouldn't it?
£1 million idea, that is.
Can you imagine that, though? Yeah. Right, Corley and Eilert on the Wii controllers. Let's go. That will sort out your community arguments, wouldn't it? No end of time there as well. Yeah, anyway, right, back to the racing. Chris Barnes is he's being close. Well, you can see Gary Craig there, James, and I've got a funny feeling that's Gary Craig just gone and slipped out of the inside of Chris Barnes. Chris Barnes has not been able to hold Gary Craig behind him, and he's now just about looking like he's going to lose the position to Matt Elmore here at the same time as these guys are on the run to 11. He does. I think that was Chris Barnes just saying, not really my fight, I don't really need to get involved. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one here as well for Barnes. He's doing a stellar job. James is out in front of the AMs, leading them as well by Fraser Garrett. He's got about 4 seconds, I think he has, give or take. But Gary Craig in second. Can he take the victory with Cabernet Delaunay in front of him?
In a word, yes. I think he's got the pace. He's his fast lap's almost a second faster than Delaunay. Be interested to see how much Delaunay puts up a fight, because that would risk backing the fight back into the pack, or whether maybe let Craig past. I know that's difficult as a racer to do, but give him the position and then maybe try and stick with him, stick in the slipstream as much or as little as there is around here, and maybe do what Barnes did there with Elmore and just realise that perhaps this isn't the fight.
No, perhaps it just isn't his fight. Dudley's just taking the fight to everyone here, with Fraser Garrity leading in front. He's in second place in the AMs. He's 2 cars ahead of Dudley, so Dudley's going to try and make that through. Cabernet Delaunay is literally under attack from Gary Craig. Here is Craig now. He's trying to get onto the back here as they drop through turn 7 on that run out of 8. We have seen it coming down in through 9. There's different lines you can take through 9. You can either tighten it up, or you can let it run out wide if Gary Craig might want to think about nipping up the inside. Oh. He does. Does he do it or not? That's going to be the question. He's going to try and take a very wide line round turn 10 there, Zach, to look at trying to get the run on the exit.
That was nearly a very, very good look indeed. Gary Craig, he is, danced up onto the back of Cabernet Delaunay, who now is forced to go defensive. That opens the door to the left-hand side for Gary Craig, who's not quite got the space to do it into the chicane, but you can definitely bet your bottom dollar that he's going to try at some point in the near future, not only because he wants to lead, but also because Matt Elmore has been looking punchy since the start of this race, and he is not going to wait around for Gary Craig to do the move. He's going to want to lead the charge himself. So Gary Craig looking forward and backwards, but look at how close he is going through the final corner.
Yeah, coming out of turn 14, he's going to kiss the apex on the inside. He's going to try and get this run. Delaunay goes on the defensive. There's no room. Here's Craig going to run him down the wall. He's got no choice if he has. He's going to have to go on the outside. He's going on the outside now. Gary Craig on the right of the screen. Delaunay on the inside. Craig's running him round. We've seen contact here throughout the race with Stephen Fry, Dan Mould. Also Derek Carver and Ian Smith have also come to contact. No, not doing there for Gary Craig. And once more, he is stuck behind Delaunay as they head round turn 3. Once more here, James, as well. Craig is looking racy. Elmore's looking racy. One more lap after this one to go. It's going to be a tight finish.
That was so big for Delaunay to defend into Tarzan there, because that was one of the very few overtaking opportunities that has been taken away, as you say, with only a couple of laps to go. I think Craig has in the back of his mind that that move, shall we say, on Johnson in the first race. He wants to make sure this is a clean one and he can keep this on the road and doesn't have to hand it back.
Yeah, let's see if he can finish this one off here and take the victory as well. It'd be a nice victory for Gary Craig, but it's it's going to be a tough one here because he's got the likes of Matt Elmore right beside him, trying to make the move over him as well. He's looking forwards, he's looking back. Is he going to be able to through? Elmore on the lights, I'm sure he's just there saying, hello, how are you? I'm still here. Or he's looking like he's going to have a go once more, but can he get this position from Gary Craig? Can Craig get this position from Cavanader Launay? It's all going to be up in arms as we're going to be starting the final lap very, very shortly here. And this is one final lap, Zach, that you don't want to miss.
It really isn't. It's going to be fireworks at the end of this one because Delaunay, Craig, Elmore and Barnes all very, very dearly want this race victory. Barnes, I mean, obviously for him, it would be a miracle to win the overall as an AM. Looking to the inside, though, Gary Craig ticks off one last turn, one overtaking opportunity. Delaunay has it covered just by darting himself at the apex. Very, very good defensive maneuver because it discourages a late move to the inside. Gary Craig, though, all over the rear end.
Yeah, he is literally all over the back of him on this run now round turn 3. He's going to try and hook up a late apex, get on the accelerator early as possible, and that run through to 4, 5 and 6. He's really got 9 to have a go. He hasn't got many places left, I don't think, to try and make this opportunity. He's not going to make it through 5. He definitely won't make it through 6. Is he going to make it as they come over the crest of the hill with 7? Dropping down they go. He's not going to get it. We're on the run to 8. Is he going to be nipping up the inside of 9? Delaunay's on the defensive here as well. He's defended harder than the Jose Mourinho football team. Gary Craig's going to try and run him around the outside of turn 9. Is he going to have the inside for 10? Is this all about where Gary Craig's going to put this car? Can he make this inside work for 10? He has done over Cavanader Delaunay there, James. Set him up on that run through 6 and gets him on the exit of 9.
That is an unbelievable move. Absolutely, he played that 5 corners ahead. That's absolutely brilliant work from Craig. Elmore was interested in that. He doesn't quite sneak through though, and Craig, squeaky clean, takes the lead on the last lap. Fantastic.
Yeah, he does. About 4 corners away from the finish line. Elmore's now going to have a go at Cavanader Launay as well. This is going to be one of these photo finishes that we're going to see once more here, but it looking like Gary Craig is going to come over the line. Is he going to be able to hang on? Can Delaunay hang on that run out of turn 14? We go now. Delaunay's got on the defensive. Gary Craig's going to come over the line. It is going to be Craig. It is going to be Delaunay. It is going to be Elmore, and it is going to be Chris Barnes in the AMS. Gary, Dudley, McCain, Johnson all crosses the line together. John Brown comes over the line once more here as well. So does Russell Fowler. Of course, Fowler's race in race 1 was absolutely horrendous, and Kev Eilert also comes over the line here in 13th place. Well, some may say well deserved for Gary Craig there. Zach, I think he did an absolutely stellar job.
He did. I mean, it's never easy, particularly at a circuit like this, to come through and win. I mean, he did the job in race 1. Obviously, a stroke of sportsmanship lost him the win in the end. Of course, by his own volition, he was very, very respectful. But a second and a first on a day that is very, very important for his championship, he definitely cannot complain for that. And now, I mean, not kill is just going to be a case of not completely, messing it up. He can cruise 5th and a 6th. He doesn't care. He is in a perfect position to take the championship.
Yeah, and that's one evening that me and you will have to do maths on. So I hope we're looking forward to that one in 2 weeks' time.
No thanks.
Oh, what do you mean? No thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What you feeling ill all of a sudden?
Yeah. Yes.
I've got bad flu, and my calculator sitting next to me there as well. Ian Smith comes over the line. So does Dan Lewis. Once more here for race 2, and the final man is Mr. Elliot James. If Zach's not with me next week, right, or 2 weeks' time, he's got man flu, and then what we used to be called is skiving off. He's bunking. And the broadcaster, you don't want to sit there and do maths either, because we do love a good final race of the season that involves me and Zach trying to work millions of things out at the same time while we're trying to put comms up. But here are the results from race 2, and it is Cavanader Launay out in front. No, it ain't. It's Gary Craig. Sorry, taking the victory with Cavanader Launay in 2nd and Matt Elmore in 3rd. That is your 1, 2, 3 in the pros. Chris Barnes takes the victory in the AMS in 4th with Steve Howell Selwood in 5th. Fraser Garrity and Ryan Dudley round out the podium for the AMs. Alan McCain 8th, Jay Corley 9th, John O'Johnson 10th, John Brown 11th, Russell Fowler 12th, Kev Eilert 13th, Ian Smith 14th, Dan Lewis 15th, Elliot James 16th, and Callum Milam down in 17th. Then you've got Dan Mould, Stephen Fry and John Cook there as well, and I believe Derek Crowther is beyond that one there. Well, TCR season's been good to watch from back of the grid while I was in it. Low, all best for the future, says Callum Milam once more. But we have got, I tell you what, let's do your AM victor in race 2, Mr. Chris Barnes here. Chris Barnes, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm wonderful. I've just watched a great racing, and also I get to see you fighting up the front end of the field there, bud. It's like, you made my day. What more could I ask for?
Mate, I don't even know how I made it there. I didn't even realise I was in pole for race 2 until I gridded. And then it was like, great. And I just got away and kept it clean, and then I heard all the carnage behind me. I just sort of knuckled down and keep going. I knew the pros would come through, so I just sort of let them go and try and stay with them and keep ahead of the AMs.
You did mention about keeping it clean, and we've just watched you go off track, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did, yeah. First lap, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dan Lewis coming right up behind you there. But, you know,
that's right.
What was you sitting there thinking, Chris, on pole position?
I was thinking, I won't make a lap without binning it, and I almost stayed true to fashion. But I managed it this time, so yeah, best result for me in TCRs because, as you know, I'm not very good in these.
No, but you've done an absolutely stellar job, mate. Taking the AM victory, 4th overall. You got to be happy going into the last round, right?
Yeah, definitely. Good result for me. So yeah, I'm well chuffed. I beat Deck, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, and what are we expecting next week at 2 weeks' time at Knock Hill?
Me to try and do the same again, hopefully.
Well, Chris, I have total faith in you, buddy. So good luck with that one. Anyone you want to give a shout?
One of us does.
Mate, you're not filling me with confidence here, Chris. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean?
I'm not full of confidence in these cars.
Yeah, well, you can look back at this one and think you've done a stellar race there, mate, as well. But anyone, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, just you guys, SRL, Triple P, Auto Bead, all the guys. So yeah, nice race in there.
Awesome,
loved it.
Awesome stuff. Well, Chris, thanks so much for joining us there as well in the booth, and I look forward to seeing what you can do in 2 weeks' time at Knock Hill.
Lovely. Cheers, mate.
Take care. And you, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's bring Gary Craig into the booth. Gary, with some great sportsmanship in race 1, allowed John O'Johnson to take the victory on the final lap. He then decides he wants it for himself and goes and wins it in race 2 as well from the top 15 reverse. Gary, welcome in. How are you?
Cheers, I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, I'm just actually messaging Jono now on Discord. He hit the wall quite hard on that incident, and I thought he was done. That's why I didn't slow down at the time. But then when I saw he was in second place at the end, I was like, yeah, I'm giving it back. Even if I wasn't sure what had happened, but I think I just understeered a bit in the corner going like late on the brakes, and he turned in. It's just very easy to have a bit of a misunderstanding there. So I thought, just in case, I'll just give it back.
I think that's fair. Was you looking for the gap, though, Gary? Because there looked like there was a gap, but was you looking to try and make the move?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was sending it because the Audi has such incredible top straight line speed. It just drives away. You've seen it for the last 3 weeks. I've been just unable to pass an Audi, whether it's Catalonia with John or Donington last time out. So they're really bad in kind of the first and second gear corners. So send it into turn 3 because they're typically quite slow in the apex and there was a gap. So I just kind of went for it because I knew I wouldn't really have a chance into turn 1.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't see, to be fair, Gary, we didn't see many overtakes in turn 1 from a lot of people, so I wouldn't worry too much. I think we only saw about I could probably count them on one hand, to be honest, if that. But going forward, Gary, Knock Hill probably still leading the championship. What are you going to do there, bud? Because it's going to be a difficult one.
So there's a very good chance that the championship might be over because Dan had a drop round with 0 points. And then he had a shocker tonight. So, and I think Matt it's between me and Matt now, and maybe Jono. But I think he had a bad race too as well. So, there's a good chance that it's possibly out of reach for anyone else. But I'll have to see what the points come back at, because obviously we get a drop round. But yeah, I think I've had pretty good finishes all the time, so I've not really got a bad round to drop.
Okay, well, going forward, it's going to be an interesting one. But Gary, thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, just everyone in the race there. It was good fun, a bit hectic in race 2. And yeah, well done to Matt Elmore. We sit in Discord whilst we race, so it was good sportsmanship. You kind of made it a bit easy on me in race 2 there when I got past.
Yeah, absolutely stellar job. Well, Gary, you take care, buddy, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate. Well, Zach, I think we can safely say that was an epic evening of races. Sorry about the black screen, guys, if you are looking at it and wondering what's going on. The session has finished. It's kicked me out, and unfortunately, this is what we've got to look at. Zach, going forward, 2 weeks' time at Knockhill. Gary Craig's got it all on the line. He's got to try and do something.
Yeah, indeed. So, I mean, he's got it all to lose, really. So I think in a couple of weeks' time, it is just going to be a case of not fluffing it up that bad. He can, control the pace a little bit more. He can not worry about going for those do or die moves. But on the flip side of that, he is going to be driving with everything to lose. So, those fighting him second, third, fourth in the championship, those that are still mathematically able to close the gap, they're going in there with everything to win, essentially. So they can send those moves, because to them it's, well, if I crash, I crash. If I do it, I've got a chance of maybe winning the championship. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting display in a couple of weeks' time, and not kill touring cars. Yes, please.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be an exciting one. James, first time in the booth with us this evening. Did you enjoy yourself, first of all?
Oh, absolutely. Touring cars never disappoint.
No, they don't. And what about the racing then? What do we think in 2 weeks' time at Knockhill? Is it going to be a classic?
Absolutely. As Zach said, the touring cars at Knockhill are always fantastic fun. That chicane with the huge curves in the middle sector will, I'm sure, catch some people out. And I believe it's Knockhill reverse, so it's essentially a long straight into a hairpin with an elevation change. So there will be action there, I guarantee it.
Oh yes, we are at the reverse circuit. So turn 1 is potentially what was originally turn 9, which will be down into Taylor's, and then they've got the chicane, which I'm going to be definitely excited to see how they manage that one. But guys, thank you so much to everybody that's joined us up here. Thank you so much to Zach and James for joining me. Toxic Munchkin, Phil, as always, Justice, much love to you, and anybody else that I've missed as well. But for now, guys, from myself, James Parfitt up here in the booth, take care, have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.